Hi everyone, welcome back to Transformation Tuesdays. Today we are going into judgment. Should be fun. It's a lot to say about that. Very excited to have Roger on. Hello, hi. I hope you all had a wonderful week. Here comes Raj now, yay! This is, hey sir, how are you?
Hello, Mikey. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you.
Good. You look good today.
Thank you, thank you. It's been an interesting few days.
Aren't most of them?
Yes, they are.
Lately, yes. There's so much going on.
Welcome everyone, and welcome to my good friend just getting back from her trip. See, she's on. Yay. Yay. So today we're going to explore judgment, which is kind of a big topic, eh?
It's very big. I've been thinking about it all day.
Yeah.
And it goes, weaves in and out of our entire life.
Hi, Julianne.
Oh, Julianne.
Yay, from Australia, everyone. Woo-hoo.
It's got to be the one I know. Yes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Cool.
Yay.
Very cool.
We'll have to have you on as a guest, Julianne. Aloha, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure she would come.
Yeah.
She's great.
Really great. Yeah.
So we want to talk about judgment a little bit, and origins, I think, is a good place to start, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I've been thinking about the clean slate thing, coming in, being born. We come in pretty much free, unless you believe in past life. You might bring some stuff with you, but we're pretty much judgment free. Mm-hmm. And so the judgments come from somewhere. And it's interesting. I was thinking about probably before my teens, probably 12, 13, whatever, when I started getting out a little bit more, I realized in several situations I had very strong judgments about things that I had no experience or knowledge of whatsoever. I would be put in a situation or get in a conversation and judgment would come up. Yeah. Very strong. So it's very clear that these came from somewhere within my environment, right?
Yes.
So then, of course, we come into a place where we're taught to, or we learn to look at everything separate from us. Things are good or bad. We get judgments, men and women, one's better, one's worse, sports teams, political groups, religions, all of this stuff.
Straight hair, curly hair. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting you bring that up. So anyway, we start developing them very young, and in a lot of cases, we have to go back and find out why. But a good example where we can begin to create our own. I had begun drinking probably about my mid-teens or so, and went through rehab at 22, drinking and using different, anything that would alter my mind, my experience. So, and then things weren't materializing. I went into a recovery program. Things weren't materializing quite as fast as I thought. It was mostly all because of my fears and everything. Yeah. And self-judgments. But what I began to do, I love the victim energy. I loved feeling like a victim, right? Yeah. So it always gave me something to talk and whine and cry about. But what I did was I started looking around to the things I desired in life, like a relationship, for example, or different things like this. And what I would do to protect myself was I'd create a judgment against them. Okay. Yeah. So immediately when I felt a desire for something, the judgment would come up and it would shut down the longing for what I was looking for. Right. Yeah. And what you talked about, the hair and all, a friend and I had made lists of all the things that were unacceptable in women. Now, this was a long, long time ago when I was quite young, but I was already in recovery. Yeah. And it was at least 2 pages long.
That were unacceptable?
Unacceptable, yeah. Just all little kinds of stuff. Yeah, and it's like, It worked out perfectly in one way because it protected me from going into relationship because I had so much fear.
Yeah.
In the other sense, it totally cut me off from life. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of judgments, we really have to look at those because we can create our own to help us go in the direction that we want to go or not go.
Yeah.
Okay. We can shut ourselves off from life with them or different things like this. But this is something we have to look at. I think the awareness is very important to track back. I mean, just pay attention throughout your day. You can feel where you have judgments. Like for me right now, they'll really whack me, although I've cleared quite a bit of the stuff in the way. If I go out and would feel judgments now, it'd whack me right in the stomach. And what it would do, that third chakra stuff where you want to control and it takes you right into wanting to fight. And it can get to the extreme where you want to actually destroy what is creating the situation that you're judging as negative. So this would take it. This would explain why wars occur and all, but on a daily basis, a personal level, this is really spirals our energy down very rapidly, and it
Very rapidly.
externalizes all of our power. We give all of our power away to this. So
It's a
very
challenging
important.
practice to practice through your day with non-judgment. It's something that I started, I know you started this several years ago, and I have a cute little story to share with you. There's a professor that's locally here who's in his late 90s who is just retired, by the way, really spry, just really, really an amazing guy. And his goal this year was to practice non-judgment. And he's already, right, this is somebody who at that age who's already looking at that, that they've done like a lot of inner work, right? And they've been really
Yeah.
integrous in their life. And so someone asked them like, well, what does that mean? And he said, well, we've had a lot of this political stuff going on and it's all playing out how it's supposed to. And my goal is to not judge any of it, observe it, and discern where I fit into that and not take any of it on, And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's such a powerful statement. And from someone who has lived their life almost fully, right, on this earth plane right now. And it's like so powerful that was one of the things that he wanted to practice this year. And it's a great time to practice it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're being really supported. I think a lot of people are, more motivated to explore those types of changes now and find a place of neutrality and more comforting, like living in connection with your heart, what's inside of you. There's a lot of peace and comfort there, right?
Yes. I want anyone who wants to ask any questions or comments, please do so. Roger, I do have a question for you. So a question that I get often and one that I've practiced with often, it's become like my thing. Explain the difference between judgment and discernment to you.
Judgment, for example, to me would be something that's predetermined, right? It's already within me. There's something within me that's causing the judgment, and it'll block me from an experience, perhaps, right?
Yeah.
Discernment would be being open to it without judgment, going into it and being willing to try new experience, and then feeling what resonance. How does it feel to me? Does this feel true to me? Is it expansive or contractive?
Yeah.
And go by what I'm feeling inside without any preconceived notions about it, right? This opens up a lot more of life, and then it's closer to the truth. Because, myself, I've gone into many situations since opening up, expanding myself to allow this kind of thing. Many situations that I never would have before, and it's opened up just beautiful things in my life.
It also gets you in or for me, I should say, is situations that experiences that I'm not judging, but no longer resonate with the frequencies that I want to hold in my space, right? It allows me to say, oh, that was a great time then, and now I want to do this, right? But it's not, it's totally judgment free. I'm not feeling that in my third chakra or in my fifth chakra, wanting to get upset about something and yell my truth or my, not real truth, but yell my frustrations out. And that's where I notice those things, right? Third, usually like fifth-ish for sure. Uh, and when I have felt in a place of judgment, right?
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're looking at it at life as just an experience,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? You're open to it, feel it out. If it feels right, fine. If not, not. But it opens up so much more for us. Yes,
it does.
very cool.
So what are some things that we can do, practical things? Well, like the example of where we feel it when we have something rising in us that we can do to like help clear that away, or just breathing into actually saying that's not my stuff, that's this, or this is mine. Why do I feel that judgment? Some daily practices that someone might do.
Yeah, well, typically, like with the energy work, we learn to go into our heart and connect with our higher power, or divine, or whatever you want to call it there. And of course, a lot of this stuff takes a stepping away, finding some space, grounding, whatever, get out in some fresh air, or do something to take you away from it. But those things lessen over time, but you just don't, you got to watch that when you're triggered on it, watch your attempts to empower it, the ego's attempts to empower it. You'll grab onto a thought and you'll go right into, it quickly goes to anger and fear or whatever, and an attack mode almost. These are extremes, right? But I've experienced extremes in all of my life, so I know.
Are they really extremes? Because I know that even in conversations with people, when there's a frustration on their end, whether it be about politics, a family member, whatever, right? The restaurant,
Environment.
a restaurant,
Yeah.
right? The environment, some external thing. And even that, it seems like it would be extreme, but what happens, and you and I as energy workers, we know when the projection is coming out, they're actually projecting out that anger and frustration. They may not be hitting you
Yeah.
with a baseball bat, but the energy behind it is
Energetically.
energetically. Yes, that's what it
Yeah.
looks like. And so it is kind of it, and it throws you off. It takes you into these lower frequencies, and it from that place.
Life are really good with your heart, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So what I meant by extreme was that not everybody experiences them to this depth.
yeah.
Me,
Okay.
everything in my life, it comes full bore.
Yeah.
Probably things because I needed to learn them or whatever. But we talked about this in the driving situation. I had often dreamed of having a vaporizer on my car.
Yeah.
Somebody cut me off, I'd just hit the button and they'd be gone. I mean, this is extreme, rather extreme. Not everybody's mind goes there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so this isn't what everyone is going to experience. You can have a lot more subtle judgments that disturb you energetically and bring turmoil,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and we got to watch too, I guess, in my own case there, we can hang on to some, like we talked about before, we can create our own judgments and use them as guides. We can use them as excuses, right? To say perhaps in recovery, there were a lot of times I wanted to give up. So if in my heart, I really wanted to use again, I would build judgments to direct me right in that, down that path. Okay. So, and the self-protection, this is another form to keep us from experiencing fear in life or these kinds of things. So, time to announce again, probably that if anybody has any questions, regardless of where we're at, don't know if we would have answers, but feel free. There will be no judgment in any question.
There's such a freedom when we can let go of that and start actually walking through this physical world as an observer, and taking off whatever lens that we were programmed with, right? Or the beliefs that we added to our little lens, taking it off and seeing things from a like, this is an experience that we're here, and everyone is here having their experience. And once we let that go, not only do we expand, we're bringing our power back. So when we go into judgment from whatever is either on the television or how someone was treating us, right? That doesn't mean you can't you let go of your boundaries at all, but we get our power back, and we're able to give them theirs and let them do whatever drama it is that they want to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it also frees them up. It's because it doesn't engage with them anymore. So what it really does is giving them more space, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this opening up is interesting. The experience through learning the energy work and being with it, it frees up everyone. And part of what I've come to, I've always been kind of a big picture kind of guy. So different perspectives are pretty easy for me to explore. Yeah. And what I learned, what I've come to believe is that every one of us are here for specific things, to experience specific things. Who knows? We don't know what another soul's journey is. And we don't have a right to judge it. Just as we prefer no one to judge our own path, right?
Yeah.
To have that freedom. And interesting also, I've had multiple experiences where I've went into immediate judgment for what someone has done. And then once I got to know the person or had interaction with them, I found out their motives were like totally different than what I thought, right? I thought, you know, like maybe I was being personally attacked or something. It had nothing to do with me. And
most of the time it doesn't actually, right?
Yeah, this is like really a big eye opener if you've ever experienced this, because most people's motives do not have anything to do with you. So this can open your eyes to prejudgment. You may, compassion could come in, acceptance, understanding. There's a lot of tourists down here. For example, I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida, and the roads get quite crowded, and a lot of people don't know where they're going. It's unfamiliar places, but if you lose track, you forget about that. Somebody will cut you off, and you go into, what the heck were they thinking? And then it's like, oh yeah, okay, so this is an 80-year-old person that probably doesn't drive fast in the first place. They don't know where they are. So it's like, you kind of gotta, like they talk about, don't judge another until you walk a mile in their shoes, right?
Yes. That's a practice I used to, being in my grandparents' car, Roger, when there would be like a ambulance or an accident, they would always do like a quick prayer for the person and a little extra saying, I hope it's not someone in our family or that we know at the end, right? And there was not a frustration in the car with that, right? Or with being stuck in traffic. It would always be, there's a reason. That could be, somebody could be on their way to the hospital, right? And not that I always practice that, but that is definitely, the prayer thing definitely goes through my mind. It's just programmed in there.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It's shifting you to a good energy. As long as they didn't stop in the middle of the traffic lane and
No. It was in the car moving slowly, but yeah.
Yeah. Then there'd be a lot of judgment coming from behind, right? That they'd have to do a double prayer.
A little projection maybe too. But I often think, because my mom, when she was sick, or my grandma would drive real slow, right? And so when I see that, or someone goofing up, I try to remember that could have, I would want someone to have been kind to my grandmother, right? And my mom, and that could potentially be us one day.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, probably will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is amazing. Releasing the judgments, it all depends where you want to go in life, too. Everyone has different goals. If you're looking for enlightenment, all the judgment needs to fade away. We need to find different perspectives or whatever, trust in the higher power within, something more powerful in us, preferably in my belief, internal. That's where our connection to source is. So in order to maintain that connection to that energy and the inner peace, all of this stuff needs to fade away in one form or another.
I think also even if we want to achieve joy and just peace and comfort in our lives, once we
Yeah, this is
release
another
judgment,
level.
yeah, once we release
Okay.
judgment, we're not only doing it for those around us, it's like forgiveness to me. It also is for ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, once
exactly.
because judgment can be an interesting thing. The kind of the things we judge sometimes often might be things that are going on inside of us.
Yeah, we were going there.
Yeah.
So, this has been full on in my experience as well. Loads of self judgment, a lot of very low self worth. So, and then there was always tremendous fear of people judging me. Of course, it was a reflection of what was going on inside, but when they would, it would like really piss me off.
Yeah.
It would not only whack my worth, it would validate how I felt about myself.
Yeah.
But then I would get angry because they thought they had the right to judge me. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's multiple things going on here. So it's always, again, living in a cage, being controlled by what's external. And what I've come to realize, and you have too, I'm sure, is through mostly the recovery of that came through the energy work and exposure and connection to the divine or universal spiritual field, right?
Yeah.
This unconditionality and love that we work with. You come to learn yourself or love yourself through that exposure, first of all. And then what happens is as the self-love increases, the self-judgment decreases. And you'll recognize that the fear of judgment coming from outside starts to fade away.
Yeah.
Okay. And as it disappears inside, it disappears outside. You know, maybe it's because we no longer attract it. I think a big part of it is that we no longer care. It has no meaning because we love ourselves from within already. And we realize that, you know, there's so much more greater here, that another person's opinion of us has no effect on our worth unless we give it that power, right? So
Yeah.
self-love, everything, every week we talk about something that all boils down to self-love.
Yeah.
This is the key, right?
And releasing those attachments like judgment, right?
Yeah.
Once we unhook those I'm going to say burdens because they feel so heavy and like locking us in, we're able to really be expansive and really practice self-love. And that love projects out to everyone else. Like,
Yeah. I mean, if they walk within, you know, the field of it, that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, that is
They,
good.
if they, I mean, that's
I do
something
want to share a little bit about, so like just a little situation and what this looks like energetically. Okay. So,
yeah,
well, not just the projection of what that judgment looks like, but let's say someone's in a conversation with someone, maybe their ex or something like that, right? And they're one person's judging the other one because there's old history there that's not cleared up, right?
right.
And the one is judging one, the other is judging, yeah, self-observation. Yep.
Yeah.
Is judging them.
So,
But there's a loop in that, right? It's not just judgment. It goes into shame, blame, all of the pattern that can look like, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I used to freak out a lot too, because I know there's people out there that are quite psychic and intuitive, and it's like, do they know what I'm thinking about them? And, you know what I mean? So this was another thing I'd freak out about, and then I'd get even tighter. So the judgment, as soon as there's judgment between two people, the intimacy is gone.
Yeah.
There's no presence with the true experience there. There cannot be, because those energies are interfering with it.
Yeah.
And it's just a battle that goes on. Each one sees it in the other, and that it empowers it even more.
Yeah.
So there have been situations in my life where this kind of thing has come up, and I couldn't even speak. You know, like totally immobilized. Such tremendous fear and all this thing or anger that I could not physically open my mouth and talk.
Yeah.
So it can be very devastating. And I want to talk a little bit too about how the things that we judge, say we have resistance to, and it could be any of these things as well. that sets up a tie to that thing directly, and it empowers it.
Yes, it does.
Okay. It sets up a back and forth, push pull. Our attention to it in that way gives it more power. So it sets
It
up a
feeds
fight
it.
and flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
It's
literally
like each
feeds it.
side just keeps strengthening to battle. So, you know, you talk about people talking about the way to change things. It's not with a sword. It's with, you know, go at it. If there's things that you feel strongly about wanting to change in life, the approach is from a place of love. And perhaps seeing that at the time things are going exactly the way they are. But I think that a
That's
lot of
where
the,
that's where I brought in that judgment and discernment, right? And also
yeah,
not setting, being able to stand your ground or have boundaries, right? So when something doesn't resonate with you and the other person is in a place of judgment, or there's a situation that you feel passionate about, how you can discern and be broader in perspective of how you might want to work with that, as opposed to going like full on with force, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So also coming from this place, if you're heart-centered living, you're going to be much more empowered anyway, and you can go into things that you know don't resonate with you and be with them in a place of peace
Yeah.
very easily, just with that awareness and maintaining your own boundaries and such like this. But
Yeah.
much more effective coming from that place of allowance. It's more of an allowance type of thing, right, than it is a fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You learn to work with it, because some situations we're just in, right? But you
yeah,
learn to work with it in a flowing way, and not attached to whatever is happening. And it does give you not it gives you the ability to like have boundaries, not engage in that energetic structure anymore, and see that for what it is, have compassion for the situation, but also stay in your heart and holding your own power. So you're not being pulled into that.
right.
Yeah.
You have a choice, you know, after a while. Once you disempower your own triggers, um, and practice the heart connection and all, and being with those energies, the faster frequency energies, you then come to have a choice. Your triggers, your old patterns and programs no longer take you over. You'll still feel them oftentimes, but you've reclaimed your own power, right? Through
Yeah.
your center.
Yeah. And you can see when someone's had a lot of judgment in their life, actually, like the energies in their face, right, Roger? Like the physical,
Yeah.
what happens, because we end up as we walk through this world with a little more maybe wisdom or years behind us. We those energies actually like start to frame the way we look, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see that in clenching one side of the face tighter than the other, perhaps,
Yeah.
and in the eyes, and more wrinkles and squinty stuff, you know, control things and
Yeah.
this kind of things. Of course, the energy is what we are, so eventually it's going to manifest physically
Yeah.
uh, if we carry it long enough. So maybe the secret to youth is to, you know,
Yeah.
connect with the love again and soften things up.
Well, you can see that, Roger, in people who are, you know,
Yeah,
you just had a birthday, so we can.
yeah. You're looking much more glowy over the years yourself.
It's the sparkly makeup. Uh,
I've seen you without it. It's
yeah.
still there's still a glow.
Now people are going to talk, Roger.
Judgment? Are you talking about or what?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it now.
That's funny.
Makes no matter.
No, it doesn't. But
So no questions come up yet.
no. But I did like. I think we should self-observation. My observation might be a topic that we want to explore one day, right?
Yeah. That's a good idea. That's another thing to mention as well, that if anybody has ideas for future topics, you kind of know what we do now, but we're open to pretty much anything. You can let us know. either right now or through email, which we'll talk about later. But let's talk a little bit about going back into these and some things we can do to find out where things might be disturbing us. And that, again, has to do with self-awareness. Like taking an inventory, you can carry a notebook around anytime. Like I had so many judgments before. I could take a 2-hour drive and I'd be steady into judging one thing or another,
Yeah.
right? So it was very clear to me. And but a lot of people, it's much more subtle. But if you feel, well, you notice something and it starts spiraling you down into slower frequency energies, and you see it's a judgment, you can start making notes of those. And then I think it's very important to track them out. Okay.
I do too. Did you find when you started this practice that it appeared that there were a lot of judgments, right, in this book, but most of them were linked to specific things? They just showed up in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Like tracking a lot of things back to self-love, eh?
Yeah.
So
or even like a program that someone shared with you and you were able to go, wow, is that actually something I believe, or was that something that I was taught, right? And then boom, once you release that, multiple things that you judged based on that first connection were released, right?
Right. Yeah. A lot of them are connected.
Yeah.
They have the same root, but
yeah.
Going back, like I talked about, we come into this world pretty much with a clean slate, and then the realization a decade or a little more into my life that I had judgments that I had about things I had no experience or knowledge of. I began to wonder where they were coming from. So a lot of this came from my environment.
Yeah.
There was always tribal stuff. My country is better than yours. Politics, that kind of thing. And back not too many generations, this stuff was all very deeply set. So we just grew up in that energy and that environment, and we came to take those things on without even realizing it. So we have to explore, are the judgments even mine? Are the beliefs even mine? They hold true anymore in my current experience of life and how I see things. A lot of these can be just let go of when we realize they don't even resonate with us anymore, right?
Yeah.
But then we can also look at how we see things. And I like to explore, like I mentioned, explore different perspectives.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a big picture guy, so I can see pretty easily. I can go right to the point, like I'm eternal, infinite, divine. This is one big thing, like an organism that's unfolding exactly the way it's supposed to, right?
Yes.
And I'm here for a very short temporary experience in a 3D body. That helps me disconnect, but not everybody can do that. A lot of people are planted, it depends somewhat on your astrology signs and different things, your background, how firmly rooted you are here in 3D. So, but try and explore different perspectives. And if you have a higher power, inner higher power, you can ask that higher power, your higher self, for help. Help me to see truth in this, or help me to see this in a way, accept this in a way from a perspective that allows me peace. Okay. Maybe I don't see truth about it. Maybe I can offer all my beliefs about it for reinterpretation to my higher self or the higher power within. And just trust that things will change over time, unfold over time. But
I mean, when we go back to some of these judgments, it's a very it's interesting because depending on our life experience, we can have, well, this, and well, now everybody else will too. I was very abused and molested as a child, right, Roger? And
yes.
And so I automatically had judgments towards men and myself, right? And what that looked like. And so working through this and releasing it, there's such a not only compassion for myself, but for even those, and true forgiveness for those who abused me. One, because they also had their story behind that, right? And it doesn't serve me anymore to punish them at all. And they have their karma and stuff to deal with. It's not my job to do that. I carried that anger around with me way too long, and all it did was hurt me. right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and some of this stuff is runs very deep and it's very powerful. So
yeah,
I don't want to minimize any of those
yeah,
experiences. Everyone has to, find their way to work through and heal that stuff on their own.
yeah.
But
And it can be, and that's my saying, like that. That experience was different, but it formed judgments in me that later on caused me to do things that I wouldn't have done had I not had such strict judgment and control stuff around that, right?
yeah,
Yeah, which
it
caused
shuts
me
down a lot of life, like we talked about before.
yeah,
I mean, okay, so the line is cut. There's going to be no relationship with men.
yeah,
There's going to be no intimacy, even in a non mate type of
yeah.
relationship, because there's no trust and there's disdain probably.
Well,
So you're living in a tunnel.
even in relationships with men, there wasn't trust, right? And there was disdain. There's this like
Yeah,
where
I
it
mean,
works
if you're
out.
even open to that,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
a lot of people, the trauma is, the
yeah.
solution is to cut it off completely.
Do you also
And
find out that when people are when we are in judgment, some of the things that we judge end up life can be really humbling to us sometimes. Those
yeah,
things can come back, right? And we might experience those in some form or fashion.
yeah.
Yeah.
You mean we might do the same thing
Yes.
that we plunged in
Yes.
the night?
Well, yeah. Or just an
Yes, this is
example
very
might be
humbling.
um, I don't do this, but I was very judgmental about my mom because she smoked, right? I started writing her letters in second grade, right? You're going to die. You're going to leave us. Like, I was really
Yeah,
brutal, actually. Uh, I don't smoke, but someone might end up smoking from that, right? Like, that could be an
yeah,
example. Or, I mean, I know a couple people who have done that. Or patterns that they didn't like in their parents and they really judge them, they pull them in, right? And they
hmm
are, my mom and granny are a good example of that, right? There was a cute thing. I walk up to my granny's house, same house forever. I was like lifted over a fence, like as a baby being there. So I walk up and my granny's in the back chair. My mom's walking to the door and I'm like, just totally like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of my great granny and my granny walking to the door, right? I mean, it was just this exact moment. I open the door and I say, Mom, you look just like Granny did, and that looks like great Granny. And she said, don't ever say that again. I don't want to be like her. And I'm like, she's exactly like her, right?
yeah,
We can't
pretty
take
much.
on those patterns like in that judgment space, right? We're like, we don't want to do
Mhm.
that. And then pretty soon you realize you're looking in the mirror and the same things you say and do that you were judging, you're doing.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is very important, and it's been part of my experiences as well. The things that have come to me in my life, I've come to realize that I'm capable of doing anything that anyone else on this planet has, because I've been there with those very strong desires, and it's just a fine line between taking action and not.
Yeah.
So I understand a lot of why things are done, and I see clearly how I'm capable of it all. I think that even though a lot of us don't want to admit it, it all depends on the circumstances we're in, right? All the
Yeah.
conditions. Most of us do our best to function, we're typically doing our best all the
Yeah.
time, given where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
I can see that clearly because I did a lot of things I've regretted, but I couldn't do anything else
You didn't have a
at the
choice at that
time.
time. That was the only
Yeah,
choice you felt you had with the energy and the
right.
frequencies that you were carrying. Yeah.
Whether or not fears I didn't seem to have control over, anger or, drunk or whatever. I just did a lot of things that, obviously I probably did them for the experience, but
Yeah.
many I would not repeat where I'm at today, obviously.
Not
I
well,
would
and also
choose
the
another way.
frequencies that you run and the vibration that you hold in your space. That probably wouldn't be an option for you.
Yeah, it just doesn't resonate, so you
Yeah.
don't even go there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So it's all very cool.
Yeah.
So we were talking about different people's goals,
Yeah.
right? Talking about if you're seeking enlightenment, the judgment, and you hear this from gurus and all, you have to let everything go except for your presence,
Yeah.
right? Your divine presence. This is all we are at our root, and this is where total peace is found. So, but if we want to just lighten our lives up a bit, we can find the judgments, the things that create us the most turmoil, and find a way to accept those. And if you're recovery, if you have 12-step exposure, there's a serenity prayer.
Yeah.
And if you have a belief in a higher power, you can use something like this and explore different perspectives. This can take a lot of turmoil out of your life and just allow more peace in, because that's what will replace the turmoil if you allow it to.
Yeah.
And then there's you may just have a goal of greater intimacy in your life, right? So increased self-love type of thing, and understanding of others more, and more compassion for self. And you may have some fears to work through and stuff, so you can actually be with another person face to face and allow things to flow naturally. But
especially
there's a
in
lot
a
of
true, authentic way,
yeah. I mean, is there really another way? That's I mean, this is one of the most beautiful things that's happened to me in my life. Was releasing the self-judgment and coming to my heart and being able to be eye to eye and heart to heart with someone now, and experiencing all that interaction. It's like amazing. It can bring tears to your eyes just being in someone's presence. It's quite beautiful, and one of the most freeing, just amazing, so freeing. You know what I mean?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, it is.
So a lot of different things you can do depending on what your goals are. So what else did we cover?
That's such a great question for us to go inward and actually really, really dive into. And what are your goals, like internal, right? What are your goals? What does
Yeah.
it look like to you or feel like to you? And that might be one thing today. It might be joy and peace and intimacy or whatever, and then it may change again in a few years, right? But something to really, really go inside and look at. And if you guys have any comments or questions about that, feel free to comment on the Facebook page or Roger's email. It would be interesting to see what people say for goals. I'd be curious.
Yeah, typically, I mean, it's well known that what we're looking for in our life is a feeling of whatever we desire. So, I've learned I can easily, if I want something in my life, I can call in the resonance of that and experience it, whether I'm present with it physically or not. But if we look into our desires and then feel the feeling that's there, that we would experience once we had that thing, this is what's important, and can really help clarify where you want to go.
Yeah.
Or what you need, right?
Yeah, what you need. Yeah.
Like I say, you can bring in a feeling of anything, whether it's in your life or not.
Yeah.
Once if your ego isn't interfering, like feeling like I'm lacking this will never happen, it needs to come this way or that, right? So there's a lot we can do with our reality without things really changing externally. Yeah. So we're very powerful. So I want to talk a little bit too, part of when I went into recovery, I spent some years in 12-step program and all, but my ego was very powerful. So I kept pulling all my stuff back in, the victimhood and all of this thing. So this was very important, the dropping the judgment and all of it, this victimhood and everything. I had to keep going. Not everyone does. I mean, there's loads of people that have amazing, beautiful results in 12-step, and I did as well, but there was a point where I had to go further. Yeah. And what I was looking for was on the other side of all of these things, these judgments, and, mostly of self, the lack of self-love and all. I had to go deeper to experience those, but this, we can give up after a while. If we don't feel the way we thought we were going to feel once we recovered. So I would encourage people to explore There's more further you can go if you need to, if you have desires too. There are other things, and different things work for different people. And you may be being called by your own soul to head in a specific direction or another, just because of the inner turmoil may be something that's leading you somewhere. But we need to be careful, because there came a point where I was about to give up, and I actually sort of did, and just I didn't go back to using or drinking again, but I went into isolation in a new career, and then I started building up the walls again. And I spent at least a decade in my own darkness, and I
Right.
could have easily drank, right?
Yes. I know where you lived at that time.
Yeah.
Did you read that question? Or
Yes, asking where is my energy at? Yes,
yes.
is a cool way of shifting to manifesting a different reality. Exactly. This is where our power is at,
Yeah.
in our awareness of what we're aligning to from within. Okay, you have a full range of, like, from shame at the slow end. This is where we have really no desire even to live anymore, which I experienced in my life, all the way up to bliss. So we tap in and feel where we're at, awareness of where we're at, and then we make a choice. Sometimes some things are going to happen. For example, if you're, what I've learned is that, what I was taught is that, like, if we're in shame and guilt, there's no energy to get out of that. It's such a slow energy that we don't have the power anymore to shift up. So we may have to tap into some anger.
Yeah.
We may have to tap into a place of total defeat and surrender, to allow us to shift above that energy, to give us the energy to keep increasing
To
our
keep it,
frequency.
to keep increasing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, like, simple ways. Gratitude is talked about a lot. Gratitude is very fast frequency, and shift your entire day, which many people know. But and it's talked about. It seems like it's over talked about, right?
Yeah.
Wears you out, but it's a fact.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful thing, and um, just shifting our focus, choosing what you want to align to. Of course, some of this can take some work, because, like for me, the ego, my old patterns and programs, my mind was just so full of slow stuff that uh, if I thought of gratitude, it's like, no way. And these are the reasons why not. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even go there. Um, so some of that had to be freed up before I was even willing. I mean, I went through change for many years before I could even feel gratitude.
Yeah.
I saw nothing to be grateful for in being alive. It was a very challenging for me. So gratitude did not come easy. Today I can align to it. I can sit down and make the choice.
Yeah, it's like it's rewiring our brain, number one, and also
Yeah.
training us. It's like if I wanted to learn Farsi's tomorrow, I'd have to either take a course or do one of the programs, right? And I would have to apply myself in action every day to do that, or whatever time I allowed it for that. And so as I'm practicing, it becomes quicker with actually our feelings, because the feelings connect to the energy, and it's like boom right there. But it still takes us practice to retrain ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, your brain's being rewired and everything, right? You know more about the physical stuff than I do, but it's just like changing any habit.
Yeah.
We have to rewire.
Yeah.
So it's good to talk about looking from things from different perspectives and stuff. I was encouraged for a long time by one of my teachers to make small changes in my life, drive a different way to work,
Yeah.
go do something, even something small that you fear or that you don't want to do it in a different way, on a different day, wake up at a different time, go to bed at a different time, just change so you open yourself to that exploration and
Yeah.
change. So it's
Have
very
you have
important.
good friends that make you push the button, or
Yeah,
yeah, jump out of airplanes, like
yeah, like
stuff like that.
some of you may be blessed with people that encourage you to step forward. Margie is one of those in my life.
As Andrea
That's been
says, I,
going on for
I
years.
stretch her. I stretch her.
It's always an invitation. Come,
Yeah.
step into this fear.
Yeah.
Express yourself. You have everything within you that you need. You just have to claim it, though,
Yeah.
and it'll be beautiful on the other side, right?
Yes, it is.
So I've been blessed with several of those people in my life.
Yeah.
Um, you may
But
or may not.
you also align to that, Roger. As soon as you let go of some of the judgments of self and judgments of those situations, what happened
Yeah,
is you opened your energy up to explore those things, and it was uncomfortable at first, right?
yeah,
But you did it, and that
yeah.
shifted. Yeah,
Shifts tons, and it
yeah,
opens up huge areas of life, and quite likely in a direction we're meant to head. Maybe we're here to work through all those things. So there is nothing any longer here that we fear. That would be like, full empowerment when it's like nothing can harm me um, at my core.
yeah,
Not saying the physical, but
yeah,
what I am is forever and very powerful. And fear is like, it's just an energy. It's a feeling that we find uncomfortable, perhaps, but wow, it's been a interesting path, interesting journey.
interesting journey, and so much more to come.
Yeah. So I want to mention we're probably getting
Yeah,
close to the end. I want to mention that through the energy work that I offer on recoveryourheart.com, Margie and I do a lot of it together. Those are typically 1 hour sessions, remote energy transmissions. There's no interaction between us except that perhaps in a coaching call. You would do these in the comfort of your home. We connect at a divine or spiritual, universal spiritual field, hold a space within there and uh, invite your energy into it. And we hold that space and observe how you interact with the field, perhaps, and where we work with universal codes as well. We can call those in or just observe those codes as well, what you're working with. But we do the remote transmissions. We do remote clearings, personal energy coaching. And if you email me at roger@recoveryourheart.com, I offer a free 30-minute initial energy coaching or consultation just to see if you have any questions about the energy work or see if might be of value to you or an interest to you in your life. That's probably enough about that. I'll announce my Facebook page is at Recover Your Heart. On Twitter, you can follow me, roger.recoveryourheart. My email address again is roger@recoveryourheart.com. And I facilitate usually twice a month local sacred self-healing meetings, which right now we use recorded meditations. Guided meditations are about 20 minutes long from a 24-step program that's developed to overcome ego and its addictions. So if you're interested in, this can help with the judgments and all too, and help us reconnect to our original state of oneness through our heart, the way we're meant to be. And I also have a unique modality that I developed with one of my teachers. It's called Grace Recovery. It deals with, this is one of the remote energy transmissions. There's 3 different focuses within that. But it deals with many things, inner child, karma, bringing us to our original state, codependent, addictive structure, masculine and feminine balance within, soul defragmentation. I can't recall all the things, but it's very widespread and it's a very beautiful and powerful modality, and we love Margie and I both can facilitate that. We do those together quite often. If any, that works good. If a lot of the work is with the ladies, so another lady present as a facilitator provides a very safe space if you have issues with male energy. That's very common, even if you don't know it. There's a lot of we get whacked. I get whacked quite often by women that first come into sessions energetically.
I got you once.
Yeah, yeah, that was a high heel shoe. this is the way my energy saw this thing, whatever it was coming at me. It was some anger, but it
Yeah.
showed to me as a high heel shoe being thrown at me.
Bullseye right
So,
there.
yes, it doesn't matter what you bring in. A lot of this stuff we can
Yeah.
assist you in returning to your heart center and letting go a lot of things that might be holding you back in life. So it's very beautiful work. Love and unconditionality. We work with compassion, forgiveness, understanding, acceptance.
And
All
did you
divine.
notice that we both had humor about these past experiences because it's like we all have our stuff. We do.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we just help to untangle those things.
Yeah.
Roger, we must go. So
This was much fun again, Margie. Thank you
so
to
much
you and
fun.
Basmati
Yeah.
for the
Thank you.
invitation and platform, and everybody for listening.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much. And again, any questions,
Yeah.
topic ideas, you can email me.
Topic ideas would be fantastic.
Yeah, I trust they'll keep coming.
I do too.
We'll find them, but
All right. Goodbye.
anyway,
Sir.
okay.
See you all next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.